All right. Welcome to another video. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about social isolation. I'll say it again. Social isolation. Yeah, it's a problem that's happening right now here in the US and probably in other countries or other countries that are like it. Countries like Taiwan. And to help me out on this, I'm going to use one of the videos on Winston Wu's Happier Abroad YouTube channel. And I'm going to use the video on this channel, the Happier Abroad channel, titled Taiwan Trip Report: Banned Truths, Myths versus Reality. Winston and Andrew. So I featured this video in a previous video, and so on social isolation, I'm going to use Winston and Andrew's thoughts on this video. I mean, I just found what they say almost at the end of this video. So I'm gonna go ahead and play it, and this will help me out on the social isolation video that I'm doing right now. Here it is.
Because the stuff we're talking about is not cool. It makes us, it has a loser stigma when you talk about this. It's like it's not cool, and it makes us look like losers when we talk about social isolation, because nobody likes to talk about that.
But I want to point this out. Loser, there are no losers in life, because loser is a word that was invented in America.
It's a shaming technique.
It's to make you think that you're not good enough. Everyone is good enough. There's no such thing as a loser. It's a word that was invented by Americans.
Yeah, Americans like to use that word to degrade people and to make shame them, and that's what I don't like about American culture. It's very toxic. But either way, I mean, there's kind of a negative stigma when you talk about social isolation and stuff. I mean, people don't like to. Also, people don't like to criticize other cultures too. They believe. Everyone believes you're only allowed to criticize the government, right, and politicians, but you're not allowed to criticize people or culture.
No one talks about this on news commentary, like Tucker Carlson or any other, or what are the other ones? Lex Friedman, Ben Shapiro,
Yeah, all the top podcasters on YouTube, they only talk about politics, government, or wars, or Donald Trump. They talk about useless stuff that doesn't apply to your everyday life. It's just a distraction or some issue, in Congress or the Senate. It's all useless. It just goes around in circles. But nobody talks about things that matter, like human connection, happiness, fun, romance.
Things that actual people...
Okay, yeah, let's see, I can get my brain jarred up for this. Okay, in this video, part of this video, Winston and Andrew talk about social isolation and saying that people who are politically correct and top podcasters and regular everyday Americans or anybody, I guess in other countries like Taiwan, they don't talk about it. They don't talk about social isolation being a problem. And, I'm going to talk about this on my channel, on my YouTube channel, in this video that I'm doing. Yeah, social isolation is a problem. It hurts the individual. They're just cut off from everybody, and everybody is cut off from each other, because in a country that has social isolation is a country that doesn't believe in social or human connection, fun, love, romance, Joy Blitz, if I can think of some words to say. Yeah, it's like, social isolation is basically just a man, or every man is an island. Every man is an island. Everybody's an island. Everybody is cut off from each other. And you got people in America, and yeah, Winston is correct that American culture is very toxic, and I'm gonna get into that. So here in the U.S., people just accept social isolation. I went and called my dad on the phone. It was a phone call between me and my father. And I told my dad that I was alone and I have no one to talk to. And my dad said, "Well, I'm alone. I gotta accept it. I gotta accept the fact that I'm alone and I got no one to talk to. I don't have no friends. And that's just the way it is. And he brings up the house that I'm living in. Look around you. Look at the house that you're living in. Look at the car that you're driving." And I told him, "Well, none of this stuff means nothing, I don't care about the house. I don't care about the car. All I care about is having someone to talk to, enjoying life with somebody, a woman, a friend, But, here in the US, social isolation, and a lack of social or human connection, it's, in countries like Taiwan, it's viewed as normal. It's perfectly normal. It's perfectly fine. And yeah, social isolation is not good, And you got people like Brock Lesnar, the former WWE wrestler. I don't think he's wrestling for the WWE or not. I don't keep up with that stuff, but he talks about that he hates people. He doesn't like people. He doesn't want to be around people. And he just want to just be around, his wife and his kids. And don't want to be around others. He prefers social isolation because he hates people. And I got someone who I went to school with, and it's a woman, and when I knew her, when me and her were teenagers, she didn't want to talk to anybody. She didn't want to tell anybody about herself or what she likes. She wants to be isolated from everybody. I went on her Facebook page, and I saw that on her Facebook page. It read that, "Oh, don't message me," means that she doesn't want no one to talk to her. And I'm saying to myself, okay, if you don't want anybody to talk to you on your Facebook page, then why do you have the Facebook page? Why are you showing photos of you and your husband and your husband's new lawn tractor and a baby that you have and a daughter that you have, a baby boy and a fully grown adult daughter? Like, why? It doesn't make any sense to me. So I just look at your pictures, but I can't talk to you. It's weird, and the United States is it's a weird country, and it is. It's very, very weird and very, very toxic. And yeah, and okay, going back to the shaming tactic. If you talk about social isolation, I guess in the United States or in Taiwan or any country that's like them, if you talk about social isolation, I mean, you're viewed as a loser. You're a loser. And Andrew brought up the point in this video that loser is a word that was created here in the US to use as a shaming tactic to put someone down if they bring up or talk about social isolation. yeah, and also Andrew brought up the fact that, like news outlets here in the US like CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, um other news outlets, cable news outlets, on the radio, yeah, they don't talk about it because, is I guess it's not worth talking about. Yeah, and Winston Wu brings up the fact that he doesn't like the culture of America because American culture is very toxic. And I agree with Winston. American culture is very, very toxic. I have a fair share of it, in videos on this channel. And I just don't, I'm just sick of putting up with the toxicity from people who come to my channel who are Americans. You got some people from Canada and I guess countries from Europe who are like that as well. I don't know. I could be wrong, or they're just a bunch of trolls. Trolls are toxic people anyway. So I'm not gonna talk about them. And Winston brought up um people don't talk about social isolation. They just talk about politics. Yeah, top podcasters, and media news outlets here in the U.S. They just talk about politics, what Donald Trump is doing, Jeffrey Epstein, and all of this stuff, and Winston state that all this stuff is meaningless and it's useless and it's not worth talking about. And I agree with him. I mean, there's no point of talking about stuff like this. Social isolation, a lack of social or human connection, people are not open, people are not having fun and being alive and being one with one another. They just want to be serious, repressed, no nonsense, and I have this job. I didn't come here to make friends. I came here to work. I came here to do a job. And I'm going to build my YouTube channel as a legacy when I'm dead and gone. And I want my nephew to see this. And I want my nephew to see me talk about sex and porn and women, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, man, that's America for you, what's the point of talking about building something up for the next generation? What's the point of that? Because let's face it, what the current generation is doing, the next generation is going to do that as well. So, yeah, yeah, social isolation is a thing, It's like this, like it's like this, it starts out, okay, when you were in kindergarten as a little girl or a little boy, a toddler, somewhat like I say like 4 years old. You start out, and you go and you start out in your first day of school as a kindergartner, or how anybody says it. You start out you start out at a very, very younger age, like I say age 4, and your parents take you there. You go and interact with the other children. You start talking to the children. You start making friends with the children. And some kids are shy. Some aren't. And the ones that get over their shyness, they go and start talking to the kids. As they grow from that, I say they go all the way to like 12 years old. Then cliques start to be formed. Then all the way into high school, everybody's in a clique, or very yeah, everybody's in a clique. But you can still talk to some people. You can still socialize with people. I guess in high school and in college. But once you leave high school and college, you're in a bubble. You don't talk to anybody anymore. Everybody is isolated from everybody. Everybody doesn't want to talk to each other. Everybody doesn't want to have anything to do with one another. It's all about work, doing business, being serious, being no nonsense, being a mentor, being a man. Yeah, all that tough talk, that's coming, all that tough talk coming out of the U.S. And yeah, I heard all that tough talk from my parents, not my parents, but my dad, not my mom, but my dad. I hear all that tough talk, and they say this: "Oh, you got friends in this house and not out there. Nobody's not gonna take care of you. You gotta be tough. You gotta take care of yourself. You gotta worry about yourself, and you gotta be a team player and work as a team. But you can't be friends with anybody. Nobody doesn't want to have anything to do with you. You're just on your own." Yeah, and that's the U.S. right there. And I don't, and the toxicity here in the U.S. has just been hurting me, and it may be insecure, and bringing up something in this video, this podcast between Winston and Andrew on a Taiwan trip report. It talked about, well, I think Winston talked about, not Andrew, but Winston Wu talked about people being people who are insecure and they don't like criticism. They can't take criticism. Like he said that people who are secure and confident, they can take criticism, but people who are insecure are weak and they show a sign of weakness and they can't take criticism. Yeah, I couldn't take criticism from someone who goes and comments on my videos saying that I talk and I fumble and I don't make any sense. I have Joe Biden senior moments, and and that kind of angered me, and that bothered me. And I went and blocked that person. That person turned around and reported me for no reason, just to get back at me over that comment. And I look back on that and I say to myself, I can't be insecure. I gotta take criticism. Just take criticism and just move on. Someone gonna say the truth about you, and I gotta take that. I gotta take that truth. And, I'm getting away from trying to control people, Okay, as I was saying, I got to get away from trying to control people and, yeah, and having a nasty temper. I have a temper. I had this ever since I was like 12 years old. And I developed it because I saw that kids at this school I went to, they were sitting down and trying to learn something and getting an education and mature and want to better themselves. And I didn't want to do that. All I want to do is just play around and be a kid, and that's all on me, that's my fault, but now I'm kind of mature now. And I'm just trying to grow up, even though I'm going through social isolation here in the US. And and I go on YouTube channels from people who I used to sub to, those people have changed, and I try to say the same thing to them that I said to them a long time ago, and they don't care anymore, Like I told this guy, hey, I like that watch that you're wearing. And that person said this: "Thank you, New Manchester. Got to dress to impress." And I said this to this person: "Do you shop at the Men's Warehouse?" and he said this: sometimes, but their prices are hell of expensive. But if ask them, see a watch that they're wearing on the video that they did on their YouTube channel, and I ask, they're just going to ignore my comment because they're not into that stuff anymore. So it kind of made me a little angry and a little sad. I gotta realize that people change. People change. And they change. They're not gonna be the way they were a long time ago. But but looking at Winston Wu, his view of everything is like, you can't be yourself. You can't be the real you. You can't joke around with people. You can't have fun with people. Like in countries like the United States and in Taiwan and countries like it. You can't, yeah, and you can't do that. You can't have fun. You can't joke around. You can't go for love. You can't go for like romance, fun, joy, and excitement, and just having fun and just enjoying life. You just can't do that. I don't know about Taiwan, but in countries like in the U.S., it's all business. It's just all business. It's all seriousness. It's all about working, doing business, following the rules, staying out of trouble. Staying out of people's personal business and lives. Just be private. Nothing wrong with that, being private, but you just, being private, there's nothing wrong with that. But you just keep your personal business to yourself. Don't talk about your personal life to anybody. Just be isolated from everybody. Just be isolated from everybody, and just talk to people within your own group. Or if you can't find anybody, if you don't have a group, or create a group, then you're all alone. Then you're doomed to being socially isolated from everybody. And Andrew brought up a point that social isolation is something that people choose to do because they choose that life. They want to be socially isolated from everybody. And I'm socially isolated from everybody, and from strangers and people who I don't know. I can't talk to strangers. Just people I know, like my father, my mother, and my sister, And it's like this, if they're dead and gone, they died, they're all dead, and it's just me, I got some of my relatives, and I can talk to some of them, but the rest of them I can't talk to them because a lot of them don't want to have anything to do with me, and even though I'm related to them, like they'll just ignore me and ghost me and don't want to talk to me, and I felt that at my uncle's funeral, and I went. I met one of my cousins for the first time, and I introduced myself. Well, my mother introduced them to me. After my mother introduced them to me, it was some black women, like one or two of them. I said, "Hi, how you doing?" "Hello," and they just didn't want to talk to me. They just started talking to each other and just ran off. And I got a lot of people who I'm related to who I don't know. And okay, and this is the mindset from my from my mother. Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, if you're related to someone and you don't know that person and they die, you go to their funeral, and what's the point of going to a funeral of someone you don't know and someone you hardly ever see? Well, I don't hardly, some people I know, like, I'll go to their funeral. And Okay, people you don't know, and your mother and my mom brings up people that I don't know that died. I said, I don't even know that person. Who is that? And I choose not to go to the funeral. And, I chose to be socially isolated. So, I think I'm gonna choose like to go to someone's funeral, even though I don't know them and they're related to me. But what I'm trying to say is, why go to a funeral of someone that you don't know? And I say like it doesn't make any sense. And I'm kind of wrong on it. It does make sense because they're related to you, and yeah. Okay. Where was I? I paused the camera. I had to like, oh, I had to talk to somebody. Let's see. What was I talking about? Okay. Yeah, social isolation. I think I was talking about me. Yeah, yeah. I think I have to like, I got this temper. I got to get rid of this temper. It's gonna ruin my life. And people who have a if you have people who have a temper, will do things that are considered foolish. And and also, I got to ignore people who judge me and look down on me. Think they're better than me. And it's like this: no one isn't better than anybody. We're all human. We're not better than each other, okay? We're all human beings. And we're no different from each other. So, I don't think Winston believes in that. But hey, and yeah, social isolation, it's it's a problem. Social isolation, is kind of like, if you engage in it more, it's like, yeah, if you engage in it more and more and more, as you grow older and get old, you'll lead to like dementia and Alzheimer's disease. And it's and social isolation is a problem here in the US, and people just don't care. People don't care. You got these rough, tough, no nonsense Americans who care about their children and want their children being exposed to like sexual based content online, porn. Yeah, like, the age verification, the thing to keep children from viewing porn, and porn will ruin them. Yeah. And I got nothing against it, and I believe that children shouldn't be viewing pornographic material online. They shouldn't be looking at adult oriented stuff, because that stuff is not for them. You know, that stuff is strictly for adults and not for children. And children have no business. I repeat, children have no business looking at stuff like that, and they don't. But and I want to get off of that. Yeah, they'll talk about keeping porn away from kids, and talk about the effects of internet porn if people view that all the time. But they will never ever talk about social isolation, ever. Lack of social human connection. People being segregated. People are segregated, isolated, paranoid, and fake. It's hard to make any normal friends. And the only way you're going to talk to people is through business related purposes. And well, that's the United States. I don't know about Taiwan. It sounds like Taiwan is kind of similar to the US. And oh yeah, and I got to stop being insecure. I got to take criticism. I got to take it. You know. I got this thing that I'm afraid that I'm going to offend a person in their culture. Like for instance, I can do an impersonation of someone from India, and I did this to my doctor, who's from India, and I did this impersonation. Okay, here it goes. Hey, don't do that. Okay, just keep soaking it. Just keep soaking it. Okay, don't do that. There's nothing I can do. Just keep soaking it. Just keep soaking it. I'm from India. Yeah, that's right. I'm from India. I run I run the Quickie Mart. I run the Quickie Mart. Okay, don't do that. Just keep soaking your feet in some hot water. It will get the corns off of your feet. But if that doesn't work, that I can do. Yeah, I did that impersonation to my doctor. He's from India, and he said that the people who talk like that in India are very poor, and he said that he went to a Catholic school, so he doesn't talk like them. And he said that he's glad that I did something like that. And he said, you're just doing that just to joke around with people. And I kept telling, I was afraid, and I told him, hey, I'm not trying to insult your culture or anything. And he was okay with it, and he was, after he took blood from me and to do my health checkup. Yeah, it was a health checkup. So yeah, I did that impersonation, and he liked it, And it shows that, you got people in the world who are not politically correct and sensitive and offended, and that's good, and that's just sad that people like that are not here in the U.S. Like if I do an impersonation to someone here in the U.S., like they probably wouldn't care at all, because in America, it's just seriousness. It's seriousness and worrying about building up the new generation and helping the new generation, and the new generation are just as bad as their parents, social isolation, lacking social or human connection, being afraid of people. Don't go near that person. Stay away from that person. He's dangerous. Yeah. Fearful of strangers, and be tough. You gotta take care of yourself. Be a man. Don't be a boy. And when I go to work and get a job, when I have a job, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to work. Yeah, and all that's just contributing to social isolation here in the States. And I don't know about Taiwan. Countries like Taiwan are like that as well. And I can't remember like how people in Japan are, like hearing from Winston and Andrew. Yeah, the real me. I like to joke around with people. I like to have fun, and there's a saying, there's a time and place for everything. And I believe in that. But, all today's day and age, all that's just thrown out the window. It's just seriousness, no nonsense, being private. Don't want to have anything to do with the other people. I don't give a damn about that person. I don't care about that person. Oh, they did this to me and I hate them. I don't trust them. And oh, don't message me on my Facebook page and get away from me. I don't want to talk to you. Get away from me. If you keep coming up to me again and again and again, I'm going to call the police on you and have you arrested. Then after that, I'm going to put a restraining order on you. If you go up to me, I'm going to pull out a gun and take you out. Yeah, people in America have guns, and they will. And America is a country that's armed to the T because everybody has a gun. Everybody's strapped up like Rambo because of the loose, lax gun laws here in the U.S. I don't want to get into that.
I want to point this out. Loser.
Sorry about that. I pressed the play button on this video. Just hearing what Andrew said when I accidentally pushed that play button for this video on my computer. Yeah, video on Winston Wu's YouTube channel. He said that there is no losers. That's just a stigma. That just basically, loser just basically is just a word that's invented here in the U.S. just to use as a shaming tactic. That's basically what it is. You're not a loser. You're just a regular person. Nobody isn't a loser. I mean, loser doesn't exist. And in other countries, incel, the word incel or incels don't exist. Here in America, it doesn't, when it comes to social isolation, it doesn't matter it doesn't matter if you're alone and you have no one to talk to because you got people out there who don't want to talk to you, don't want to have anything to do with you, don't want to connect with you. If you try to talk to them, they'll just ghost you and ignore you, act like you don't exist, act like you don't matter. Yeah. Yeah, and you can't bother people. It doesn't matter if you're alone. You can't bother people. You just gotta just sit at home and just accept the fact that you're socially isolated from everybody. You gotta accept that. But and people who are suffering from that here in the U.S., they can leave America and move abroad, move to a country that they don't have to go through that type of stuff. Like they can move to a country where people will talk to them, where people will socialize with them. People who believe in social or human connection. Yeah, no social isolation. Everybody, no cliques. You can just talk to people and meet people. You can just meet people and talk to people easily. I mean, people. You can sit at a restaurant in a foreign country, like I just described. And people just will come out of the blue and just talk to you. Sit at the table and say, hey, you don't mind if I sit at the table with you? I say, yeah, you can go sit with me. Sit down with that person and just talk to that person. But all countries aren't like that. Aren't like countries like that. Some countries are sociable, some aren't, and the ones that aren't are countries like Taiwan. So yeah, you don't have to be alone. You don't have to stay alone. You have to deal with social isolation. But if you choose that, you want to shield yourself off from everybody and be socially isolated. Yeah, I mean, that's your choice. That's what you want to do. But but you don't have to put up with social isolation and antisocial, repressed, serious, no nonsense people. You don't. And before I end this video, hold on. Social isolation is like a disease, and also Winston and Andrew on this video that you see before you. I think Winston or Andrew, I think one of them talked about this. This is connected to social isolation. The low birth rate, countries like I think Taiwan, South Korea, and Japan, they have a very low birth rate. And the United States has a very low birth rate as well. And I think in those countries, people choose not to have children because they want to focus on work and bettering themselves. And, and yeah, the economy and the cost of living, and people who just hate children and they want to be alone. Yeah, I want to talk about this, and this is my opinion. You guys don't have to agree with me on this. Basically, this is from Winston Wu, from one of the older videos on the from one of the older videos on his Happy Abroad YouTube channel. He talked about a country that has a very low birth rate is a country that's antisocial, cliquish, people who don't believe in social or human connection. Yeah, people don't want to talk to other people. People want to be in a bubble. Don't want no one to bother them. And also, he said that a country with a very high birth rate is a country where people who are sociable, who like to be sociable, who like to socialize with other people, people who believe in social or human connection. Yeah, people like people who like to talk to one another, like to connect with one another. Yeah, like to form friendships and relationships. Yeah, and also like if you're in a country with people like that, you can build yourself up. You can grow in that country. You can't grow in a country like the United States, where like social with a lack of social or human connection, everybody's closed off and standoffish, antisocial, cliquish. They hate people. They don't want to be around people. They want to isolate themselves from everybody. Everybody is huddled in cliques. Nobody doesn't want to be bothered. Oh, don't message me on my Facebook page. You're not going to grow in a country like that. Someone says that, from when you were like a long time ago, as you progress, you grow and you get better, you mature, you be a better person. Yeah, that's all good and all, but you can grow if you're in a country where people are friendly, down to earth, easy to talk to, and approachable. Yeah, sociable, friendly people who like to make eye contact, who aren't shy, who don't mind socializing with people. Yeah, you'll grow in a place like that. Not in a country like America or Taiwan. You're not going to grow in those countries. America, nobody grows in that country. Nobody can grow in that country. If you don't in America, if you don't establish a clique or be in a clique, you're not going to grow. And people with disabilities, they're not going to grow in a country like the United States. Yeah, because those people are ignored, left behind, overlooked, and just thrown a shuffle or just left to fall through the cracks. So it's just the way it is, and it's going to be like that for years to come in the U.S. The next generation is gonna have this mentality, just like the current one. So it is what it is. It's just how it is. So that's all I gotta say in this video, and this video is long. I don't care. I just got something to say. I don't care how this video is. I'm just gonna say what I gotta say. All right. Goodbye.